Foreign investment in Africa is finally taking off. More and more companies are investing in the continent, and the African economy is expected to grow by more than 5% this year. That's the good news, but there are people who say that not enough interest is being shown in Africa, and many companies are still holding back because of fears of political instability. We're joined by Dr. Ibrahim, who is an entrepreneur and the president of the Ibrahim Foundation, which promotes better governance in Africa. Dr. Ibrahim, would you agree with this question that there is an issue of political instability in Africa which is holding back investment?
I think there is a perception of political instability or governance issues. I think there is also a big gap between perception about Africa and reality. That's why our business in Africa have been extremely successful. We made more money in Africa than anywhere else, because whenever there is gap between perception and reality, there's a great business opportunity. In my view, Africa now is the last frontier. If you really want to make money, you have to head there.
But the investment is going to just a few countries, and it's mainly still in oil and mining industries. What about the other countries, the poorer and more problematic countries? Take Mali, for example, which is now undergoing a revolution. What will happen there?
People forget Africa is 54 countries. And at any moment of time, there are problems in 3 or 4 countries. Somehow, because the news media, as usual, focus on crisis or problems, because that's news, it creates a perception for the casual listener that Africa is a problem area. You have a major problem in Greece. Potential problem in Spain. You had civil war in Yugoslavia, ex-Yugoslavia. Does that brand Europe as a basket case? But we really have to be reasonable and sensible in analyzing the situation in Africa. One bomb goes in Kenya 7 or 8 years ago in a hotel. Immediately, U.S. government declare Kenya unsafe, advise people not to travel to Kenya. Same time, a bomb goes in London, more than one actually, more people are killed. Nobody says don't travel to London, it's not safe. Big incident in the train station in Spain. More people killed there. Nobody said Spain is not safe. Somehow for Africa, whatever incident happened, immediately knee-jerk reaction, it's not safe, let's not do it. We forget that Africa is huge. Unlike any other place, it's just a normal place, like any other place. We have some problems, but we have a lot of strength as well.
But it is huge, and one of the major issues is infrastructure,
Absolutely.
transport. That's still something that needs to be dealt with. Another issue is regional integration, and a third issue, among many, is governance. Your foundation tries to improve governance, but what would you say are the prospects for improving infrastructure and regional integration?
And that's a huge business opportunity, because infrastructure is needed very badly. You talk about electricity, you talk about roads, you talk about ports, you talk about airports. All this are needed, and there's a huge room for investment in all these projects. And by the way, most of the investment in Africa is not just in oil and gas. Services industry actually is growing faster. That is the real growth story in Africa in services. People are hungry for everything. We have 1 billion consumers. And the total GDP of Africa, by the way, is bigger than India. And people forget that. Africa has only 2/3 of the population of India. But Africa is one of the largest continents on earth, and huge resources in Africa, and people need to compare. Many countries in Africa, for example, have they rank ahead of China, ahead of India in governance and rule of law. So we really need to be a little bit careful when we brush Africa with one color. Africa is diverse, and there's a lot of wonderful stories in Africa. There are a lot of governments in Africa which is dealing wonderfully well. And yes, there are a few cases which are problematic, but it's not worse than Ukraine, for example. You guys playing football in Ukraine?
Where would you be putting your money in Africa right now?
Right now, we have a fund, Satya. At the moment, we invested in healthcare. We invested in retail. We invested in energy. Two other investment. We are open to investment
And which countries would you be focusing on particularly?
Really, many African countries are really doing quite well. I mean, you look at Nigeria, the economy is really booming. It's really moving forward. Ghana is doing well. Mozambique is doing wonderful. Kenya is moving forward. Tanzania is also a lot of African countries really are really moving forward. We have 4 or 5 trouble spots in Africa. People waiting on that. We have some problems in North Africa because of the Arab Spring and the political instability. So maybe investors are a little bit hesitant about 3 or 4 countries in the north. But it will sort itself out.
One of your initiatives has been to create a prize for achievement on the part of African leaders, a very valuable initiative. What results can you take home from that now? It's 5 years have gone by since you created it.
Yes, it's about 5 years since we started that. We had so far 3 winners, and we had 1 honorary winner, Nelson Mandela. He doesn't qualify because he left government a long time ago, but he's the father of African good governance. So we had 3 winners in 5 years. 2 years we withheld the prize. The whole objective of the prize is to really focus the discussion around the issue of governance and good leadership. That's what we need in Africa, to improve the status of governance. And also we need leaders who are able to make the right and tough decisions. We had our fair share of bad leaderships, which really destroyed and wasted many years in Africa. But enough is enough. It's time now really to recoup what has been lost so far.
We hear a lot about investments in land for production of food, India particularly, but also Arab countries, Saudi Arabia. Sometimes these investments seem to be detrimental to the interests of the local population.
You're absolutely right. We have to be very careful. African agriculture needs really development. And I think agriculture is the future of Africa, because we cannot produce better trains or better air buses than you guys. So we're not going to sell that to you. But we can produce better and cheaper tomatoes and cucumbers and tea and coffee, of course. And we can produce it much cheaper, especially if you forgo the cap policies here and whatever you do to distort the market. That's the future. Our productivity is extremely low. There is a huge room for improvement. There is a huge amount of arable lands to be developed. So we really need to develop the right agricultural policies, and we need to right models. But we have to be careful here about the land grab. Foreign countries come to Africa and through some dubious and many times secret deals, non-transparent deals, which is not published. They grab millions of acres, and then they start kicking the peasants out to produce food security. Food security for whom? Food security for India? Food security? What about our own people? Our own food security is our priority, not the food security of other people. We need to produce the food which give us security, and hopefully give security to other people as well, because that is a global marketplace.
But that's also an issue of governance, in fact.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we need definitely more transparency about this deal. There is over 120 deals which nobody knows anything about them. The governments keep it secret. The investing companies and countries try to keep it secret. Whenever people try to keep something secret, we say, hi, there's some hanky-panky goes there.
We better have another prize for transparency in Africa.
It is part of governance.
Yes. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.